Hey there. Do you want to know an interesting and kind of underhanded way to talk yourself into a job? So let me explain. It's using something called Neurolinguistic Programming, or NLP. Most people don't know what that means. It's an offshoot of hypnosis, actually. It's what I would call conversational hypnosis, or really talking to someone's unconscious mind. So as you probably know, you've probably heard that people make decisions emotionally and justify them logically. Well, actually, there have been studies to show that people make their decisions 7 seconds ahead in their unconscious mind versus when they realize it consciously. In other words, you can see, if you're looking at your brain firing, you can see that you're making that decision without you even knowing it, and then you make it consciously. So something to keep in mind, because you can actually talk yourself into a job, or at least do a lot of things when added up can talk yourself into a job. That's probably why I use NLP so much in interview coaching, as well as in resume writing as well. So I'm going to share with you a really quick tip on how to use NLP, or Neurolinguistic Programming, in an interview in order to help seed the person's unconscious mind, whether you're talking to a gatekeeper or a decision maker. So it's called presuppositions, or assuming the outcome. So when they ask, are there any questions that you have for me, there are some that I want you to ask. And instead of them being impersonal, like for instance, if you were to say, so will the person getting this job have XYZ authority? Or how much responsibility from a budget capacity does the person who gets this job, or the winning candidate, get? So what you want to do is make that personal. I'll give you an example outside of job searching. For instance, you could either say, let's say you walk on to a used car lot, and car salesmen know these tricks incredibly well. So they could come up to you and say, buy this car. Are you going to do it? No, probably not. However, if he were or she were to say, have you heard how easy it is to buy this car? Now they've already planted in your head that it's easy, and they've already used the term buy this car. So keep that in mind. So when you are starting in an interview, let's say, for instance, if you were to start a job search in the next few weeks, again, if you were to, so you could say, instead of saying, does this role have XYZ authority? You would say, so if I were to take on this role, would I have XYZ authority, or whatever it might be? For instance, if I were to start in 2 or 3 weeks, what would be the first thing you'd want me to do? So there you are making them picture you in that company, and on your first day or your first week, what they would be giving you to do. So they're already picturing you in that role. And the more you can get them to picture you in that role during the entire hiring process, the easier it is for them to make a buying decision about you based on what you've said. So, if I were to take on this role, would I be working directly with you? Would I be, how many people would I have on my team, for instance? In general, if you want someone to hire you, it's just like if you want someone to buy something from you. You've probably heard that it takes a certain number of yeses in a conversation in order to sell something successfully. And I believe that that is 5 times. So if it's possible during an hour conversation, let's say with the hiring manager in the final interview, you might, within that hour, use something like that 5 times so that they can picture you 5 times. And it could be, for instance, it could be, what do you want me to do first? Or what can I help you? What can I take off of your shoulders? Again, I and you, and also don't forget the all-important we. You could use we ahead of time so that they're seeing you in that role on their team. And then with most presuppositions, whether it's a statement of positive or negative, it's going to result in the person creating an internal representation in their heads. And this is because we're implanting ideas into their subconscious mind or their unconscious mind. And the unconscious doesn't understand negatives. That's why when you have negative self-talk, your unconscious sees those as fact. So think about what you could do from a positive standpoint in an interview to use this personalization of, if I were to take on this role, or what would you give me as the first thing to do if I were to start? Something like that. So think about different ways that you can come up with these personalizations. And again, this is Neurolinguistic Programming, or NLP. And there are actually, if I would recommend any resources on NLP, it would probably be to go to Amazon and look up NLP selling. Because there are a lot of ways to use neurolinguistic programming, and persuasion is just one of those. So I have a lot of different pieces of advice that I can give you on NLP, and I'll be doing that in the near future. So I would love to know what you think about this, and if you think you feel comfortable enough to use it. So please leave some comments and let me know if you like this idea, if you really think you have the guts to use it, because it does work. And you might get a job created for you that didn't exist before you started talking with them. So this is Tammy Kabell with Career Resume Consulting, and I thank you for watching today. Bye now.